Hey everyone, welcome to Logan's Mosh Pit. Glad to have you here. Do me a favor and please subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks a lot for tuning into a new episode of Rock and Read. Today we will read chapter 29 and chapter 30 of Iron Man, written by the riffmaster from Black Sabbath, Tony Iommi. Let's see what chapter 29 is about. We took quite a long time to write and rehearse for the Volume 4 album. It's not like it was becoming harder to come up with stuff, but the pub was only a mile away, so we'd start to come up with ideas, and it was, And they'd all go down to the pub for a drink. I'd think, I'm not going to go. I'll just sit here and try to come up with something. I'd play for a bit, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and they'd all come back plastered. You got anything? Oh, great. I felt really pressured. When it was suggested we go to the States to record, we were all very much in favor of the idea. It was a way to avoid the English tax man, and the studio rates were better, cheaper out there as well. More important than that, we thought it would be nice to really go somewhere else to try and get a different vibe. We went to Los Angeles in May 1972. Patrick Meehan knew John DuPont from the DuPont Company, lighters and paints and all that. A big, huge company. We rented his house in Bel Air. It was a great place with a big ballroom type room overlooking the pool. It had a magnificent view of LA, the works. We all lived together there. The band, Meehan, and these 2 French au pair girls who came with the house. The vibe in America was great. The record plant where we recorded was a state-of-the-art studio and far better than what we were used to. We decided to produce Volume 4 ourselves. It's not like we were fed up with Roger Bain or anything. I thought he was alright. But we had done so much studio work by then that we felt we knew how to do it ourselves. I've heard Roger has since disappeared and won't talk to anybody anymore. I don't get that. I wonder why that would be. Patrick Meehan put himself down as producer as well. I don't know why he did that either. But he was there. He was in the control room, and I suppose he thought, oh, I'll just add my name to it. Once or twice he may have said, what if we try? And that was it. His part in the production. Producing it ourselves was everybody going, I want my bass up, or I want this, and I want that. But it worked out okay. It was only later, from Sabbath Bloody Sabbath and onwards, that I started really poking my nose in more. Recording took 6 weeks, maybe even 2 months. During that time, we also set some gear up at the house in Bel Air, where we wrote the last of the songs. It was a different environment. Everybody had a brighter attitude, and there was a schedule. We have got to get it done. We were still about and doing stupid jokes, but ideas and the songs were coming out quickly. Perhaps having loads of coke helped speed things up as well. And we had a lot of it. It came in a sealed box the size of a speaker, filled with files all covered in wax. You'd peel the wax off, and it was pure, fantastic stuff, and loads of it. It was like Tony Montana in the movie Scarface. We'd put a big pile on the table, carve it all up, and then we'd all have a bit. Well, quite a lot. Word got around, and soon other musicians, lots of women and new friends came to the house, and everybody was diving in. One sunny day, we were sitting in the TV room around a table with coke tipped out on it, and grass as well. This house had all these buttons around all the rooms. Bill thought it was the maid's button and pressed it, but it was an alarm button for the Bel Air police. Only a few minutes after that, I stood up, looked out the window, and there were about 6 or 8 police cars in our drive. I shouted, "Quick, the police!" Everybody went, "Ha ha ha." I'm serious, it's the police. Again, ha ha ha. I had literally to get one of them and go, "Look," and then, "Ooh, it is the police." We quickly scraped all this coke and dope off the table. We had our own little stashes in our rooms as well, so we all rushed up there, trying to snort as much as we could before flushing the rest down the toilet. Then we said to one of the au pairs, "Quick, answer the door." She did, and of course, the police came in. We were sitting in the ballroom, all quiet-like, eyes wide open. They said, "What's going on in there?" Nothing. Why?" You could obviously tell we were out of it. They wanted to know what we were doing there, and we told them we had rented the house, and so on and so on. It was hell on earth. If they'd have searched us, we would have gone down very badly. But they left after we explained about Bill's button mistake. We flushed a lot. Afterwards, of course, it was, "Oh, it's all gone, man. Quick, phone the bloke up again. Get him over." In the record plant, though, we were a bit more serious. Being in control in the studio, we were free to experiment a bit more. The first 3 albums could all have been from the same batch, really, but Volume 4 was when we started introducing different things. I had found a piano in the ballroom up at the house, and I used to play that thing when I had had a million lines of coke. I had never played the piano before, and I started learning it right there and then, within a couple weeks. Mind you, I was up all bloody night every night with a line of coke, play for a bit, another line of coke, play. So I was probably up for the equivalent of 6 weeks. And while doing that, I came up with changes. Ozzy came in and said, "Oh, I like that," and started singing to it. We got the Mellotron in, and Geezer started playing that, like an accompaniment, an orchestral thing. And that was it. We decided to record it. It sounded really weird. I couldn't believe it was us. I actually felt pretty embarrassed, because when we recorded it at the record plant, Rick Wakeman came in and he said, "Who was that playing the piano?" I thought, oh no, he's going to say, that is. But he liked it. I suppose we could have asked somebody like him to play these keyboards, but Geezer and me wanted to do it ourselves. Both of us were learning. It was a challenge. If Changes was unusual, FX certainly was way out there. We were mostly undressed at the time when we recorded it. When you're in the studio for hours on end smoking dope, you go a bit mad. We started playing and were dancing around, half-dressed, just being stupid. I hit my guitar with my cross. It went boing, and we went, ooh, boing, ah! Everybody then danced past the guitar, hitting it. We were just playing about. We didn't think of using this as a track, but they recorded it with a delay, and we thought, oh yeah, and we put it on the record. I always put so much work in every song, putting all the different changes in and everything. And here, we had a track that came about accidentally because a couple of people were hitting my guitar, and it ended up on the album. A total joke. If only we'd had videos of it, it would have been amazing. Or not. Laguna Sunrise was actually inspired by a sunrise at Laguna Beach. I was there with Spock, one of the guys of our crew who was a good guitar player as well. We were up all bloody night, and I just started playing this acoustic guitar and came up with this idea. We also tried to work out the orchestra bit for it. I had never done that before, as we had never used orchestras up until then. I don't know how to write music out, but Spock did, so we tried to work out the notes for the orchestra to play. What's that dot there? Okay, put that down. We went into the studio, and of course, the orchestra wouldn't accept it. They wanted all their parts written out properly, and once we got somebody in to do that, they were great. On the end of Snowblind, we also used orchestras, and again later on Spiral Architect off the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath album, and Supertsar off Sabotage, is me playing heavy guitar with a choir and a harp player. I did things like that to get a different sound into our music. Bill nearly didn't make it to the end of the recording process. We were rummaging around the house one night, and in the garage we found all this DuPont paint. We grabbed these spray tins of gold paint and this clear lacquer. We got back into the house, and there was Bill, pissed as a parrot and on the floor. We said, "Can we spray you?" Of course he said, "Yes." We took all his clothes off, sprayed him, and he had everything gold. We then got this clear lacquer and sprayed him with that as well. It was bloody funny. Bill was lying there, all shiny, and then he started making these weird little noises. Then he started throwing up, and he went into this violent seizure. Oh, hell! We phoned for an ambulance, and we thought, how the are we going to explain this? What's wrong with the chap? Well, he's sort of lying there, and he's gold. And then, trying to make it sound serious, and he's being really sick. Excuse me, what exactly is wrong with him? He's sprayed gold, and he's on the floor, without clothes. They came out and gave us a right bollocking. You idiots! Don't you realize you could have killed this man? Everything was gold. His arse, his beard, the whole lot. Apparently, it blocks all the pores up, and you can die from it. They made us show them the tins of paint that we sprayed him with, and this lacquer as well. They read the tins, all seriously worried, and then they injected him with something. Meanwhile, we were standing there like naughty boys going, is he going to be all right? We dashed back to the garage again, found some thinners, and used that to get the gold off him as quickly as possible. It was quite a job cleaning him up. It was a fun idea, but it really backfired. Recording Volume 4 was great. We had the DuPont house, the sun was shining, there was the swimming pool, women, everything, and Coke, lots of Coke. We had such a good time that we didn't want it to end. Toward the end of our stay one day, we partied a little too hard. We were at the house and started messing around. First, we threw a few things, and in the end, we got the hose pipe in, squirting it at each other. Ozzy painted himself in all these different colors, which caused such a mess. And then, the doorbell rang. It was the owner of the house, John DuPont. Ozzy answered the door, soaked and with all this paint on his face. DuPont went, "What the is going on in here?" He came in and it was a total mess. I was standing there with the hose going, "Ah, how are you? Nice meeting you." He had a go at Patrick Meehan, and we had to pay him. The situation was solved by money. As if he didn't have enough, this John DuPont. But crazy stuff like that happened because we were happy there. We rehearsed and came up with ideas and wrote stuff during the day, and at night we went to the Rainbow Bar or whatever and partied. That whole period was one of the most enjoyable times ever, and a song like Snowblind makes it clear that it was also because of Coke. That's why we wrote on the album sleeve, "We wish to thank the great Coca-Cola Company." Just a little thank you nod to our suppliers. I rented a house in Bel Air again a couple of years ago when we were working on songs for the Heaven and Hell album, The Devil You Know. The DuPont house was on Stradella Road, and because I went out for walks a lot, I passed it every morning. Apparently, it's now owned by former Charlie's Angel, Jacqueline Smith, so I used to look in, trying to catch a glimpse. But I never did. Well, we're done with Chapter 29, so why don't we check out Chapter 30? When we toured America in the summer of 1972, we traveled around in a private plane. We'd fly somewhere, stay there for a few days to do the gigs in the area, and then we'd fly off to somewhere else to do the same thing. If at all possible, we'd stay in Florida so we could be on the beach during the day. Flying private planes was a Meehan thing. We had already used them back in 1971 on the Paranoid Tour. In March of that year, we toured the States with Fleetwood Mac, and they hopped on a flight with us. Ozzy sat in the front, and we were all chatting away in the back. Suddenly, the plane dived and went vroom. Ozzy had taken the controls. I don't know why on earth the pilot let him do that. Myself. Bloody hell. But of course, Ozzy thought it was hilarious. Everybody was screaming and shouting, so he did it again. Woohoo! It didn't do much for Bill's fear of flying. He used to get terrified and needed to take Valium to get on a flight. He soon started driving instead of flying. He had a GMC mobile home, and his brother Jim drove him from one gig to the next. Occasionally, they'd have to stop at one of those places where you have to dump all the contents from the toilet. One day, Jim was pushing the button that was supposed to release all the... and nothing was happening. So Bill decided to get underneath to see what was wrong. He had got into CB radio like the truckers, and he was going through a stage of talking like that with all this Breaker 19, come in Bulldog, 10-4 stuff. So Bill was under the bus going, there's a negative on the... Jim, a negative on the... Nothing's happening. Negative. He was banging away at stuff. Then his brother pulled a lever again, and all this and blue sewage stuff just went all over him. Blork! Bill just went, I've got a positive on the... Jim, positive on the... Jim pulled the bus forward, and there was the outline of Bill on the ground with this pile of... around it. His face was covered in it, and he looked like the creature from the Black Lagoon. It was one of those classic moments. Typical Bill. Well, that wraps up Chapter 30. Let me know what you thought of both chapters in the comments below. That does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you next time. Till then, rock on.